I wanted that game to last forever. I didn't want it to end. I mean, that was the best series, the best World Series that I've seen in a long time. I mean, I'm still biased. I think the Cubs, like, that was still the best in my opinion. With just being a Cubs fan and the history that was broken there, and just the way it ended. But I thought, like, not being a fan of either team in that situation was so good because my blood pressure would have been like through the roof and it would have been unhealthy and it would have been scary. But luckily, I was just watching for fun, and I mean, I was having a blast. And I wish the Blue Jays could have taken that last game, but it is what it is.
That's a great call about not being a fan, because if I was a Blue Jays fan, I don't know how I would have handled that. With being that, I mean, 2 outs away from capturing the World Series. It did remind me though, like, of the Cubs World Series. Game
Mm-hmm.
7, Chapman gives up the home run on the breaking ball in the ninth to tie it. So like there were
Against
some
somebody like that you're
similarities.
not expecting it to happen
Yeah.
from. Like, that dude hadn't hit a home run, and I forget what they said, but it was like that was not a guy that you think can beat you in that situation
Yeah, I think it was like
like
middle
that.
of September or something they said was his
Yeah.
last home run. Kudos to him, because then he comes out and he makes a big time defensive play too at second base. Like, that was not an easy play. That ball kind of took him back towards the outfield and he kind of stumbled almost, but he threw a strike to home plate to get that force out. Awesome game. I think I have the same sentiments you guys do. Like, sad that it's over. Sad that baseball's over now for a while, but that was a heck of a way to cap it off.
I thought that that start from Max Scherzer was incredible. He was like the worst pitcher in the majors in September, I think, statistically. And then what he did to go out there for, I think, 5 innings and put the team on his back in a way, potentially his last game ever. So we'll see, depending upon how he feels about the future. But I thought that was really cool to see with Scherzer on the mound against forgetting who started that. Oh, Ty. Ty, what am I doing? Ty.
Well, speaks to yeah, analytics are a huge part of the game, right? But there's still a major human factor to it and a competition factor. And Max Scherzer, he proved that for sure. Because he was nails.
Talking about pitching, all of us for the most part being pitchers here, Yamamoto, what he did is incredible. Like, I could not even imagine what his arm felt like. And just for him to, bear down and throw 96 pitches the day before, and then throw two in like how many, two and a third or over 2 innings in that next day, like, that dude's arm. And then watching him trying to pick up the trophy, he like couldn't even move his arm. He couldn't lift it above his head. I was like, yeah, dude, I
How is it
know
even possible to do that, Pete? Like,
you.
to throw that many
That's
pitches
the
and then
only
come back.
situation, like, you should never do that unless it's that situation. Like, that seriously is like, it's worth the injury risk, I guess, because like the only reason you got him was to try and win that World Series, and like that's the situation. I guess it's if you think it's worth it or not. And it was
Well,
clearly.
and apparently he was like begging to get into one of the earlier games too. It was like game 4 or something I heard he was trying to get into right after his start as well. So that guy just wants the ball. Like, you gotta
Yeah.
love that as a manager and as a teammate. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that he's willing to do that and put his health on the line. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, unless it's for that one opportunity. But man, that was nuts when I saw him come back out.
And speaking of some playoff baseball, the Wisconsin crew on their Badger State Ball podcast this morning did an interview with Caleb Durbin of the Milwaukee Brewers. He's from Lake Forest, Illinois. Went on to play at Washington University, and then got drafted, got traded, and then eventually ended up on the Brewers and had a pretty good year with them, playing in the playoffs this year. But so keep an eye out for that. That'll be out, I believe, on Wednesday. So the same day that this is out, there should be out as well. Should be a good interview with him.
Yeah, hopefully we can get some clips from that, Gavin, and share it to the
Yeah,
Illinois, audience as well, because from everything you were telling us, it just sounds like he's an outstanding human being, really intelligent, and clearly he's a worker. He grinded his way to the big leagues, and yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing it.
yeah. I heard a couple of his questions after the recording was done, or his answers to the questions after the recording was done, and he just gave some really in-depth answers, and like you could tell like it seemed like he really wanted to just provide any information that he could to these kids and parents too, probably. But I thought it was really interesting and super cool that they were able to get him on. But with that, we had 4 guys from Illinois on playoff rosters, and Dane released a story, I think it was last week, kind of mentioning those players. But they were Mason McCoy, Jacob Junis, Quinn Priester, and then Caleb Durbin. Dane, I see we have Brent Hedrick on there. He was with the Yankees, but he wasn't actually on a roster, right?
Yeah, he was going to be on the taxi squad. I think he wasn't activated during the playoffs, but he was on the taxi squad. So a little shout out to him, ISU guy from Braidwood. Yeah, it was a pretty cool thing to see. It's the toughest roster to crack is the playoff roster. So I saw a cool little note in the story was Jacob Junis. I believe he graduated in 2011, and he was like one of the top players in the country out of Illinois. So I don't know who was writing stories back in 2011, but there was a cool little write up for him.
I know Sean Duncan. He was on Jacob Junis back in the day because I believe it's Rock Falls High School that he was at. I don't want to be misquoted there, and I want to say he was a two-way guy who ends up moving to the mound. And a lot of those shortstops that move to the mound have a ton of success. They have feel and throw a ton of strikes and are athletic. And Gavin, you mentioned like our Wisconsin crew bringing on Caleb Durbin. Just Wisconsin in general, really cool. Like the Dodgers, they had Alex Call, they had Ben Rortvet, and then the Blue Jays, they had Dalton Varsho making some plays out there in center field. Like there was just a ton of Wisconsin representation. And then in Illinois, like Will Klein went to EIU, pitched at EIU, was huge for the Blue Jays, or actually for the Dodgers. I'm sorry, and I think it was their Game 3 win. But just a lot of, I love like the cold weather representation, but then obviously the Illinois, Wisconsin stuff. We're tied into all the Wisconsin stuff that goes on throughout the year as well. So love seeing those guys that are kind of making an impact at the biggest stage.
So it looks like he threw 4 innings there at the end and struck out 5. So yeah, that's pretty cool too.
That was the marathon game. Am I correct with that?
Yes, the 18 was it 18 innings.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing too, Brock Stewart, I saw a tweet from him today, a Normal West grad. He was hurt this year, so he wasn't on the Dodgers playoff roster, but he mentioned something about potentially getting a ring, and I don't know if he was just referencing like the Dodgers getting the ring or if he also will get one too, just because he was a part of the team this year. I don't know how that works, but
I think if you're part of the team at any point, you get one.
Any point, is that right, Tyler?
Yeah, like Gavin Lux, or not, I shouldn't use Gavin Lux as an example, but like there's probably a certain quota of like games maybe you appeared or were on the roster, but I also think there's some instances where there's like different ring packages. Like I'm connected with someone who's part of the Red Sox organization in the minor leagues, and there was like different packages he could select as to what type of ring he got. So I think it kind of depends, but yeah, I would think Brock Stewart probably gets a ring.
Well, and I was shouting out Mitch Shulowitz. He's a 2013 grad from Mundelein, pitched at UIC. He interned for us for a little bit one summer. He's just an awesome guy. He was an area guy for the Dodgers for a while. Now he's out in the Four Corners, still with the Dodgers. So part of that organization, I'm sure it's a big day for him as well.
We should just acknowledge that both our teams won yesterday in the NFL. Bears had the craziest win that I can ever remember watching personally. So yeah, I just want to shout that out before we just brush over that, Gavin. I mean, come on.
Well, I don't want to speak for Gavin, but I don't want to jinx the Bears now by any chance, speaking on it. But it was a crazy game. The emotions those last 4 or 5 minutes were crazy. The ups and downs, the backs and forth. I think I've said it in podcasts in the past. Like I'm just all in on Ben Johnson. That is for me the guy. I will back him. There was a lot that would have kept you up at night last night from the Bears. Whether it's the defense, the special teams, the kicking situation. But no, and even the pick six that gets called back by a fingertip. That game is not nearly as close if that touchdown holds. But man, I think Ben Johnson said it in the post game. I'm obsessed with the locker room celebrations, all the post game interviews. You don't apologize for a win in the NFL, and I couldn't agree more, especially on the road. Shout out to Joe Flacco, playing through a sprained shoulder, basically, a AC joint, whatever he had going. He took a couple hard hits during the game, too, and just did not seem phased. There was one shot of him late there when they had the ball in the red zone, kind of trying to score that game-winning touchdown is what it would have been, and he looked so calm, calling out the cadence, and looked calm in the pocket, I thought, all game. And they've got playmakers over there for the Bengals. But crazy game. Shout out Joe Flacco. Shout out Caleb Williams, kind of leading them back there on that final drive, making a couple throws. Loveland bouncing off those three defenders, and thanks Bengals for not wrapping up and letting Loveland kind of scamper down there. But crazy game. No, definitely a lot better to come out with a victory than a loss there. But man, that onside kick, there were so many things there, Tyler, that had the blood boiling. So
I mean, that's a game that the Bears lose like every time in the past few years, for sure. And Caleb, I don't know, I trust him. Like in those late game situations, like I feel confident that we have a chance to go down and score. He's proven it multiple times, and that's a great feeling to have. Like that's something that I haven't felt with the Bears quarterback in a long time. So it's a really good feeling.
That was a really awesome win for the Steelers. Beating the Colts, I think the Colts had to be the hottest team in the NFL going into last week. It looked like their offense was unstoppable. Danny Dimes, and then you've got Jonathan Taylor was rushing for 3 touchdowns in 3 straight games or something like that. He had some crazy streak going, and you got to be pretty excited here because I know your football stuff hasn't been great over the last few weeks. So soak it in.
Yeah, that. Not wrong there. No, it was good to see. I mean, I'm glad the defense finally looked like what it should have looked for most of this year, and especially against that type of offense. Like you said, I mean, I don't think there was anybody hotter in the NFL than Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor. Like that duo had been tearing everybody up. So, no, I'm excited. They've got a tough remaining schedule, so it's going to be interesting to see, and here in a few weeks I'll get to see them live and in person as they take on the Bears at Soldier Field. So
looking at the Bears, like they've got a gauntlet coming up. They've kind of been getting these W's against teams that hopefully you should. They've got the Giants next week, and who knows with them, they seem to be a feisty group in Jackson Dart, but yeah, they've got some tough games coming up.